Picture this, Ahmedabad 2026. It's the T20 World Cup final. For the millions of us glued to our screens, it was just an absolutely unforgettable night of cricket. But, if you strip away all the incredible sixes and the clattering wickets, what you're really left with is a story. A story told by the numbers on just one screen. The scoreboard.
Yeah, this final between India and New Zealand, it wasn't just another game. Not even close. It was this brutal story of pressure, of record-shattering hitting, and these tiny little moments that completely flipped the script on who would lift that trophy. And all of it, every single bit, was captured right there on the scoreboard.
So how exactly did a bunch of numbers on a screen tell the story of one of the most dominant finals we've ever seen? Well, let's dive in and break down exactly how India won it all, using the numbers that tell the real story of this incredible match. All right, first up, the final frontier. Before a single ball was even bowled, the stage was set at the Narendra Modi Stadium for an absolute blockbuster. History was on the line for both teams. And the pressure was just immense on both sides. I mean, think about it from India's perspective. They were chasing this historic triple whammy, becoming the first team ever to win 3 T20 World Cups, the first to successfully defend the title, and the first host nation to win it. Just massive. And then you have New Zealand, the perennial finalists, always so close. For them, this was their big chance to finally get their hands on that trophy for the very first time. So the coin goes up, and it lands in New Zealand's favor. Their captain, Mitchell Santner, he doesn't hesitate. He elects to field first. Now, this was a huge gamble, a really big tactical call. He decided to drop his off-spinner, Cole McConchie, for an extra fast bowler, Jacob Duffy. He was basically betting the whole farm on getting some early swing and seam from the pitch. Okay, Section 2, an unstoppable onslaught. This is where we get to the Indian innings, and where that big gamble to bowl first, well, it was about to be put to the test in the most brutal way you can imagine. 92. Just let that number sink in. That's what India scored after just 6 overs. 6! And for no loss. No, that's not a typo. 92 for none. That is the highest power play score in the history of the T20 World Cup. It was a complete and utter dismantling of New Zealand's entire strategy, and you can see just how ridiculously fast they were going. I mean, they rocketed to 50 in just 4 overs. The 100-run mark came up just a couple of balls after that massive 98-run opening partnership was finally broken. And the guy leading the charge? Abhishek Sharma. He'd been kind of out of form, but of course he picked the World Cup final to just explode, smashing the tournament's fastest 50 off only 18 balls. Unbelievable. And you'd think after Sharma got out, things might slow down, right? Nope, not a chance. The carnage just continued. Sanju Samson and Ishan Kishan got together and just put on a clinic, blasting 105 runs in only 48 balls. There was absolutely no letup. None. One of the commentators said something that just summed it all up perfectly. He said, "It's one of those days where you wonder, is there anything left for the bowlers in this format?" And it really felt like that. It just felt helpless for New Zealand. Sanju Samson especially was on another planet. He ended up with 89, which is the highest score anyone has ever made in a T20 World Cup final. India were just absolutely flying.
Okay, next section, the 3-wicket turning point. Because just when it looked like India was cruising towards, an unthinkable score of 300, cricket did what cricket always does. It gave us a moment of pure, unscripted, unbelievable drama.
So get this picture in your head. India are 203 for the loss of just 1 wicket. The game looks done and dusted. It feels over. But in the space of just 6 deliveries, everything was about to be turned on its head. It all started with James Neesham. Ball 2 of the over, and he gets the big one. The first blow is landed. The man of the tournament, Sanju Samson, is gone for that record-breaking 89. But wait, he's not done. Just 3 balls later, Neesham strikes again. This time it's Ishan Kishan, who had just blasted his own 50, caught out in the deep. And just like that, both of India's set batsmen were gone. And then, to cap off the over, the absolute unthinkable happens. A truly stunning catch sends India's captain, Surya Kumar Yadav, back to the pavilion for a golden duck out on his very first ball. You could hear a pin drop in that massive stadium. So, let's just recap that. 1 over, 3 massive wickets. India stumbled from a dominant 203 for 1 to 204 for 4. It felt like Nisham had single-handedly dragged New Zealand back into the game. But just when the Kiwis thought they had a foothold, out comes Shivam Dubey, who just goes on a rampage. He smashes 26 runs from only 8 balls and still manages to push India to that final, record-shattering total of 255.
Which brings us to the second half of the match, a chase against history. Look, New Zealand wasn't just chasing a big score here. They were chasing history itself. This was a target that had never, ever been reeled in during a World Cup final. 256. That's the mountain they had to climb. That meant a required run rate of 12.8 and over from the very first ball. The pressure was just off the charts. And you just knew India's bowlers were ready to turn the screws.
And this chart right here, man, it tells such a brutal story. That tall bar? That's the run rate New Zealand needed to be scoring. And the shorter one? That's what they were actually managing. By the time the power play was over, they were already so far behind the 8-ball, having lost 3 key wickets. The required rate had already jumped to over 15 and over, an impossible task.
All right, next up, the knockout blows. With the chase already falling apart, it was time for India to land the final, decisive punches that would seal the World Cup.
You know, the only New Zealander who really put up a fight was Tim Seifert. He played a brilliant knock for 52, but his innings was ended by an absolute moment of magic in the field. Ishan Kishan pulled off this solo relay catch right on the boundary rope that was just a marvel. It almost defied physics, and you could feel it just break New Zealand's spirit for good.
And that brings us to India's hero with the ball. I mean, look at these numbers. On a day where one team smashed 255, Jasprit Bumrah puts on an absolute masterclass. He used all his variations, his slower balls, his pinpoint Yorkers, and took 4 wickets for just 15 runs. That is the first time anyone has ever taken 4 wickets in a T20 World Cup final. Just a legendary performance.
And that was pretty much that, India's T20 dynasty. The chase? Well, it ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. New Zealand were all out for 159, and India's place in the history books was officially confirmed. And what a victory it was. It sealed that historic trifecta of records we talked about. They became the first team to win the T20 World Cup 3 times, the first team to successfully defend the title, and the first host nation to win the whole thing. I mean, India didn't just win a final here. They shattered record after record and cemented a true T20 dynasty.
So in the end, we come right back to where we started, the scoreboard. And it tells the whole story, doesn't it? India wins by a massive 96 runs. It wasn't just a win, it was an absolute statement. A dominant, record-smashing performance that really kicked off a new era in world cricket. And it leaves you with just one question, really. Who on earth can possibly stop this Indian team?